Welcome to the Motley Croc Show. It's October 3rd, 2024, and we've been flying all over the place. And I got to tell you, we've had a lot of fun, and there's a lot of things. We'll touch on a lot of fun topics tonight. Everybody's coming in. So I'm going to start introducing some of our other people. But first and foremost, there's my host, Jeff, the Manic Satanic. What's up, bro?
What's up, man?
And everybody knows Bumblebee Tuna. What are them glasses? What are them glasses? And last but not least tonight, at least for now, Shaw. One of the guys from the Law Monster Files.
What's up, Charlie?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
So how's everybody doing out there in Florida? We survived the hurricane. Some of us did.
Yep. Oh, we lost Brittany.
But that's okay. We're all here. It's fine. Let's bring it up. Boop. A little bit bigger. There we go. Till she pops in.
Nice.
So Charlie,
like it.
While we're waiting on a little bit of stuff, if everybody can hear me okay, I think so. North Carolina got hit pretty hard with the hurricanes, huh?
Yeah, it's been really bad. I live in the Piedmont, so we have some trees down here, and we lost power a little bit, but that's about it. But out west towards the mountains, it's real bad. People died. It's not good. They're saying they don't know when Asheville is going to reopen. Like, they shut down the highway. Like, you can't go past.
We were just there. Remember that?
I didn't go with you to Asheville. Remember?
Oh God, I thought you were there, but at a different time. I thought we were rotating us around.
No,
I got to tell you. I'll tell you a little story about that. We were there, and Justin and I were obviously welcome back, Bumblebee Tuna. We were there, Charlie, and so they went downstairs, the film crew, and there was actually in the middle of the city, there was a black bear walking around in the parking lot. And so a lot of our production got videos of this black bear, which remind me to try to send that to you later. It was really awesome. But just walking right where, remember, we're the right downtown Asheville, like, just right in that area. And
Asheville's like wild, man.
It's a great town.
The hotel was too uppity for me, bro. I mean, that hotel there, I was like.
For me, I always say that Asheville's a great place to visit because I can't swing it to live there.
Yeah, it's not cheap. That's for sure. I looked into moving there a couple of years ago, and it was, the juice didn't justify the squeeze as far as like what I was making. And I was actually looking at travel contracts out there for work a couple of weeks ago. And now I'm looking into some crisis contracts and FEMA contracts to see maybe I can get out there and help out a little bit.
Well, they need it.
It's they were short staffed at the hospitals there to begin with, so now they're really probably scrambling.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd want to live there, but it was cool. I mean, I guess it was. I'm not going to say not my cup of tea, but it was. It's a big city thing, but they didn't look like the people that were there didn't really look like they could afford to live there either. So
funny Asheville story. This will illustrate how it's a nice place to visit for me, but I'm wound a little too tight for Asheville, I think.
Right.
I was standing at an intersection, waiting to cross, waiting for the light to change, and I was standing there with my girlfriend, wife now, and this kid approaches, and he's holding out like little bits of quartz, and he's like, "Hey man, do you want to buy some crystals?" And I was like, "Get away from me! I don't have any money for you." And he's like, "Whoa, man, you need to be mellow." And I'm like, "No, I don't. Get away." My wife was
trying to separate you from your money is not exactly a way to get you mellow.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it was just funny. I was just like, ah. And then he walked back over to his drum circle, and that was that.
How'd your house fare, Troy and Brittany?
Go ahead, Brittany. How'd you do? I'll let you lead.
We did okay. It was mostly just really bad winds and rain. Normally when the storms come through, they blow off the lake towards the front of the house. So it's a lot louder and a lot harder. This time the direction of the storm came from the back of the house. So it wasn't as loud and obnoxious. We had some down, like pretty decent tree branches, but nothing, thank goodness, like nothing major.
Yeah. I mean, I could speak for me and Troy when I say we don't have lakes at our house, but it's okay. So that wasn't a problem, but how about you?
Yeah, we overfilled. I don't know. My lake's probably as far away from my house as Brittany's is. But our back canal filled up real big, and then a limb broke down, like busted my far back shed that I keep some of the extra stuff for winterizing and stuff. So I got to fix that, or it's going to be like a wild animal hangout. Like, I mean, and speaking of that, while I'm sitting here looking at Charlie, I feel like we're out on an investigation.
I
that
know.
background, bro. I mean, I feel like we're looking for something.
I'm in the woods. I
The
dragged
boys in the woods.
I dragged my little folding table and my phone, and I got a flashlight there, and I got my
I love it, Charlie.
my beverage here, and I was like, you know what? Let me just bring a little ambiance.
So for those of you that don't
Freaking
know,
love it, Charlie. You freaking guy.
Charlie is
Got
our
my camping chair.
Oh my god, I feel like we're back on those
I really feel like
investigative
we're there.
scenes.
Yeah.
Except someone's gonna have to come up and do Charlie's makeup real quick. Like, hey, stop.
He's shiny.
gonna-
He's shiny.
They're like, we
Dude,
gotta keep him looking clean because Troy and Justin look like they just fell out of a vacuum cleaner bag.
We are. I'm gonna be shiny. I'll be plenty shiny. There was a couple of times where I was like, I'm gonna look like a smash bag of something on this.
No, you
show.
pulled it off, bro. I got to give you props, man. You were in some shit and you pulled it off.
He was our Captain America, and we will never
Right on.
forget it.
That's an inside story.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for season 2.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But
BTS.
one of the cool things is that as we got to really, I mean, for those of you who want to tune in, I know that most of you who come in and popping in and out right now have known us for a long time, and Charlie's new to us, but he's no different than what we do, and I think that being pulled together and really being able to go all over the planet like we did, and do a lot of different research and really listen to some stories. Yeah, some of the stories were, there's a lot of people that tell lies out there and stuff, but then there is some truth to a lot of things. And I don't know if any of you watch it, but RK Carolina's is him and his buddy show, and they do a lot of that stuff where they kind of debunk and they break into stuff and really look into it. And I think you guys should definitely check that out. But to be out there and really get to see that stuff like we did, I mean, let's be real, it's TV. There's going to be some, high stakes and fluff, but for the most part, we try to really stick to, our guns on what we know and do. But, and with that being said, there'll be a lot of flack because, I mean, I live an awesome life and Jeff has a fun life and Charlie has a fun life. But if you had a camera crew with us 24 hours a day, you're not going to see, the highlights. So the highlights are something that's really important, and, and you got to really remember that. And I'm just saying that to the people who watch. It's like, there's a lot of stuff out there that's, it's not good, but I think that we're bringing together a good programming with entertainment and real facts. And that's important, because I'm a realist, and I believe in, and there's a lot of wildlife and a lot of things that we got to see that I was really excited about. And then Brittany got to see some cool stuff, I think, up in her field. And I just think that that's really awesome. And so we got to really make sure we say that up front so people understand.
Yeah, I think that, at the intersection of verifiable zoology, folklore, and then the unknown, there's definitely there's an intersection there in that diagram, and in the middle is cryptozoology, right? And you can, it would be unreasonable to say that every piece of folklore around what we'll just describe broadly as cryptids is false. Like that's unreasonable. We're discovering new species every year across the planet, in the depths of the ocean. New stuff is turning up, and that's really exciting. And we were so lucky to get to travel around, like you said, Troy, and talk to people. And we all have opinions about some of the stories that we're told.
Sure.
And we interpret them differently, and sometimes we interpret them the same. But at the end of the day, we saw some really cool stuff. And to be clear, none of us have seen the edit, so we don't know what's going to make it into the show. But it was an astounding experience where I said to each of you at least one point, that was really something special.
It was.
In the wake of having seen something, just that was really special. We are really fortunate to have witnessed that, and I hope it makes the cut.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, I agree with you, Charlie. I think there's a lot to be said about that. And we're just lucky. And I think all of us are pretty down to earth, and nobody was an ass to each other. And, we were messing around and making cooking shows at 3 a.m. and, we're all over different destinations. And I think, yeah, we got to do a lot of really cool things, and we're very lucky. So it's been a really good time, and I hope that people get to see there's some really cool stuff. I wish I could say. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish I could say, but I can't. But you guys know that we're going to be airing October 9th, 10 p.m.
Literally in a few
And
days.
The
So
first
what we can
episode is going
share-
to take place in North Carolina.
Yeah, and I wasn't even here for it. They shipped me off to Texas.
Yeah.
Well, they needed you over there, man, but for that reason.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. I was really happy about what we did. But what we can say, based on the promos and the commercials, is there's an absolutely stunning shot of Brittany getting handed an amazing skull.
Oh, yeah.
My grandmother called me and was like, I just saw you on television. I said, really? And she said, yes, you were on a commercial. I was like, well, what was in the commercial? She was like, well, it was your back. It wasn't my back. It was Justin. She said, there was a skull. There was a skull. And there was a lady. Brittany being the lady. So it was a very factual representation of the commercial. But
Yeah, I wasn't in that one. I think I was dead or something.
I don't know.
I think I died in that episode.
Dead. I actually happened to like in one of the promos, and I actually have watched it now because I filmed it and I watched it over and over again, is when Troy and Justin are huddled up and like they're like all huddled up together when you guys are, I think, on the summit. And you're just like all huddled up. It's the cutest little thing, but the way that it cut, it looks like Justin's wearing it looks like a little gnome hat. So it's like all of a sudden he like flips it around and kind of like flops. He wasn't wearing a gnome hat, but that's how it looked. And I was like, I absolutely love this. It's such a great cut.
So Michelle said she had 5 feet of water in her house and it was coming back in the windows and back into the kitchen counters, and she lost everything. So,
oh my God, Michelle, I am so
really
sorry.
Michelle.
Yeah, sorry, Michelle.
We did have a lot of friends here in Florida that that live on the coastline or up there that did a lot. I mean, there's some personal friends of ours that their house is still sitting underwater. So it just depends on. Those storms are. I'm sorry to hear that, Michelle. That's just terrible.
Yeah, it was a rough one for most. I mean, I fared well. I lost my mailbox, but I needed a new mailbox anyway. So, I spent last weekend putting it in the mailbox.
I look at it this way. I'm born and raised Florida boy, man, and we've been living with hurricanes my whole life, and I remember all of them that hit in 2004 and back in the 90s when it just wiped everything out, and then all the way back to Hurricane Andrew. And I love Florida. I like living in Florida, and it's just part of the gamble, man. Like, you just got to deal with it, and you got to roll with the punches. And sometimes, we weren't as lucky as other people, and sometimes you take the punch. And me and Jeff have taken the punch quite a few times. Sir. At least I know for sure. So, so I mean, and it sucks. There's a lot of people that had that and went through a lot of shit. And I just said fuck it, and I went to a Motley Crue concert. I mean, that's
there you go.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So me and my buddy across the street, my friend Sean, we said fuck it. We drove through a hurricane. We ruined his mom's windshield in the car. There's that. And like 4 big holes in it because we got stuck on a bridge going through Sarasota area, Venice, Sarasota.
Hell?
And no, man, so this wind was really blowing hard, but it got into like a circle straight at you because the bridge had the high walls that you can't fall off. So it was like a wind tunnel. It was like somebody shot our car. I was like, this car's gonna look like ass, but it was only the windshield. And then we went to the show, and Motley Crue put on a hell of a show, and it was at the Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood, Florida. And
that's awesome.
I mean, it was really good to see. John 5 did a great job, Jeff. I mean, he's I've seen the band from Mick Mars to John 5, and he did a really good job. And
it's awesome.
Elvis Presley.
I just knew the hurricane was going to hit us, and I was covered up. I had everything covered, and I said, I'm not going to suffer this, man.
Yeah,
I really didn't hit me that bad where I was, and you could kind of see that it wasn't. So, but those people up higher up on the coast, man,
and Tennessee and stuff too. That's insane to me. Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, underwater floods. I mean, it's I can't even believe. I have friends that their mom and dad are in Tennessee. They lost all cell service because the cell towers got taken out by the river dam breaking and the rivers coming in to where they're now isolated. And they have to be flown in supplies because the local grocery stores that they have to walk through chest deep to get to have no more supplies, and there's no gasoline for the generators. So they're literally sitting in like the 1800s waiting for supplies.
Damn adventure, man. It's an adventure.
Yeah.
So I have,
Crazy.
No lights, no motor cars.
I have an inside scoop on that.
Jeff.
Based on what I do for my day job, because Sasquatch doesn't have benefits. There's no health insurance through Sasquatch hunting. Which is,
Nope.
maybe he'll pick up Aetna or
I just
Blue
hope he
Cross.
saves some motherfuckers out there, man.
Yeah.
On his back, holding on to hair.
But so my
Hold
day
on.
job is in information technology, and the scuttlebutt on that is that the fiber backbone that connects Western North Carolina with the rest of the state was broken for state institutions, so they didn't have internet either. So even if they had power, like communications, cell went down, internet went out. Like it didn't matter. Like even if you had power, you couldn't get to the internet. And like they're just now patching that back into
It's insane.
like government institutions and stuff. So
That's crazy.
From an infrastructure perspective, it is. I mean, we can we can cuss on the show. It's fucking biblical, man.
Sure, can't say whatever you want on here, bro.
It's like end of days shit out there.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
Yeah, now
You're absolutely right. It's weird.
I don't want. I mean, I don't know, man. There's some weird stuff going on, and there's going to be a lot of weird shit being spread about that.
Yeah,
Of course.
But I am seeing people that are now getting cell service from some of those areas, and I don't know why they would fake. Okay. Coming out on like X and stuff. I know it gets taken down all the time on Facebook and taken down on YouTube and taken down on Instagram and taken down on Meta. But they're like, look, guys, there's bodies behind me. Nobody's coming for us. And like they're really showing that shit, right? Like nobody's and it's like they're like, FEMA. They don't give a fuck. Nobody's coming here. FEMA's not coming. Nobody cares. And it's like it makes you wonder, like, we're in the United States, man. What's going on? Like, I understand propaganda and conspiracy. I mean, you're going to run into that. But these people are really filming themselves. And it reminded me a lot of when those people were stuck in New Orleans back in 2004.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like trying to get help and they were swimming everywhere. I mean, that was so fucking devastating, bro. I remember going there 6 months after it happened and they were still finding bodies in the gutters because the cemeteries had flooded and washed out. All the caskets came up. They didn't know how to put people's bodies back together. Urns. People, when the waters went down in some of those neighborhoods, there were still elderly people in their wheelchair, dead in their wheelchair, like skeletons like this, like, lobsters crawling out of them and shit like that.
And what a lot of people don't realize is one of the reasons they tell you not to go into the water is because once the I'll say sewers, but I mean really any drainage system is flooded, the manhole covers will lift off.
Yeah.
And when you get sucked under there, like if you're walking down the street and step where there's supposed to be a grate or a cover, you're going under and you're not coming back out.
No, you're drowning.
And you might get stuck down there for, and they might not find the body for weeks, months, or if at all, depending on how it gets stuck down there.
Yeah,
So
that's scary stuff, really.
Yeah. So like I guess that's my PSA. It's not a game. If the street is flooded, don't walk down the street.
Watch for manhole covers.
Yeah.
Don't get sucked in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary. It's funny that you said about New Orleans. I had a friend at work who survived Katrina, moved here, and he worked his ass off during COVID, 6 days a week, bought himself a nice big house on St. Pete Beach, and he got destroyed this week. He really got flooded out, and it sucks. He got hit twice.
Man, that's terrible.
Yeah, it sucks. And a couple of friends of mine who live out that way, their snake rooms got flooded.
Oh God.
And they were sending pictures out of the tubs from their racks floating around, in the water and all that stuff. It's sad, man. I feel for everybody that lost in that, and
that sucks.
It feels so insignificant to have to put in a new mailbox, and there's actually a couple leaks in my 2-year-old roof, but that'll get fixed and covered, and I'll be whole again in no time.
Yeah, and we're sitting here trying to talk about having a good time with our friends, and they're like, "Oh, storm just devastated." But you know what, man? I've been through some ups and downs in my life. There's been times I almost didn't live. I've been shot, stabbed, and left for dead, and they killed my people around me, and I'm still here. And I don't want anybody feeling sorry for me, man. It's part of the journey. We just build and we move on, dude. We build and we move on.
That's what it's all about. And
you know what? It don't kill you.
Natural disasters.
That's right.
Pretty
it's
much
that
the
resilience.
desert is it.
That's right, man. It's going to be that resilience that makes you stronger, man. It's all about that resilience. And people are going to get through it and they're going to rebuild. And, it's part of the journey, man.
It's true.
Part of the journey. And
now's a really good time to
suck.
see.
It sucks, but
You can't keep a good dirt bag down, man.
That's right. Let's keep us going.
Now
I'm
would
not
be
talking about Charlie. He's a very nice person. Sorry, Brittany.
No, now I was just gonna say that now's like a really good time to see people come together. That's what I always like to see is like actual
that's
people
what we
coming
need.
together to help each other,
Helping out.
because there's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's what
people
we
that
really
just
need.
they don't care. They're like, I'm fine, I don't care about you. But it is cool to see some of the humanity still where people are like, I went up, I donated what I had in my pantry to some of my neighbors that don't have, like, it's just nice to see that. And I like to see people coming together for the greater
That
good.
sucks, Sarah.
Tara said she was really upset that she couldn't go on her vacation because of the hurricane. And I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Right there. It's all about you.
I'm kidding, Tara. Actually, the
Oh.
interesting thing was for Tara is one of her friends' family members ended up going into the hospital. So she actually drove up there right before that storm hit and had to come back through it. And
Good Lord.
it went up. She was in Tennessee. So, I mean, there was a lot of shit. I mean, that was just unbelievable. Like sometimes Jeff and Charlie, I'll direct this to you too. I try to stay away from a lot of the super conspiracy stuff, man, but I don't know, man. If you got to think about getting in there and being able to control weather and things like that for if you could work that out.
Well,
I mean, would we? Let me ask you this. Let me ask it this way, and then I want you to take the mic, and then I want to hear what Jeff says. If you could, if we were the big shots and we could work that out, and we were multimillionaires, and we don't care about anything, would we use that power to do something good with it, or would we really use it as basically a biological warfare kind of thing? That's the question.
Country or like as humanity?
Us as humanity, would we use it for something good, or would we use it for something bad? What would we do? And if it fell in the hand of a terrorist, obviously they're going to do what they want with it to control world domination. But what do you think? Because what do you think?
Simple answer is both. If something like that happens, I mean, think about all the stuff that has been weaponized in our world that was not necessarily meant as a weapon. Or, I mean, look at like lasers. Lasers were invented to do good, to experiment, and stuff like that gets used as weapons. Gunpowder. I mean, there's so many things that you can weaponize, but then you got to think of the side where it's obviously going to be used for some good. I mean, if you could, change the weather where there's droughts, where there's floods, where there's, freeze overs. I mean, you could change the entire face of humanity with something like that.
For either way. Yeah. Charlie,
Yeah,
shoot.
absolutely.
So first I'll say that talking about weather control very broadly, cloud seeding is not a conspiracy. That is
Right.
That's a
real.
real deal.
You can do that. The U.S. government has done it. Foreign governments have done it. We figured it out. At varying levels of efficacy, right? Like it's not like you can just conjure a storm out of nowhere. That's not really how it works. But cloud seeding is a thing. And Troy, you and I, and Brittany, you as well, we talked about this one night on one of our adventures, because sometimes when it's 3:00 in the morning and there's nothing else to talk about, you start talking about aliens and stuff. And my position is that it doesn't necessarily, and this is a bit from George Carlin that said it probably better than I will, it doesn't necessarily have to be a conspiracy when interests align in positions of power, right? So like if you have I won't say a billionaire, right? We'll say a corporation, because I don't think a billionaire is really worried about weather control. Like I don't think there's a Dr. Evil out there like I'm gonna make it rain till people die. Like to what end? But I do think there could be corporations that could wield technology irresponsibly, to your point of that you just said about lasers and things being created for benevolent purposes, and then what if they're used irresponsibly? Not even for evil, like just irresponsibly. Like what if we have a technology that we can use that will increase crop production and therefore profits will increase by 3%? And we do that, and the side effect is that the weather impact, has an adverse effect on the broader ecology of the region. But it's a cost, or it's a risk they're worth taking, because it doesn't impact their bottom line. Their bottom line goes up regardless. They're going to do it, right? So I think I don't think it's unreasonable to believe that technologies like cloud seeding, could be used in a way that has inadvertent negative effects.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's necessarily a conspiracy. I think it's just a disregard for the risk.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a really good. That's a really good way to look at that. I agree. Just just the way the world is and the people that are in it, and how they really just don't care. If somebody had that kind of power, if you think of like North and South Korea, imagine if they got a hold of something like that, what they would do. And you have to think about what it is. So like a storm will kill biological things but not hurt any resources. It really doesn't hurt resources. What's it really hurt?
I would say it destroys
waterways and
I would say infrastructure.
That's all. So if you wanted to wipe something out and give it a couple years to redo itself, that's a good way to do it, rather than drop a nuke or a chemical bomb or a virus or something that could really spread back to you and you don't want it back. I mean, the best way to kill something biological is pretty much that would be a way to do it. And I think if there were certain organizations that had that type of power, I think they'd probably do it, honestly.
I agree with Charlie.
Not
when he was
just good
talking
stuff.
about basically using these types of technology irresponsibly, because that is a lot what happened with ultrasonic testing within the government, and a lot of the things that happened within our own ocean that happened a lot around Catalina Island, and why a lot of our sharks and whales were dying due to the fact that they were not understanding the strength of the purpose of the weapon that they were using with the ultrasonic. So they're going to test things out, and by testing them, they're not always going to have the best results. It's when they learn, okay, it didn't work this way, but it does work this way, then they can utilize it and learn how to wheel it into their favor against enemies or things like that. But at what cost does that affect us when they learn to use it as a weapon once they've learned how to master it? And the only way to learn how to master it is by testing it in multiple different ways, trial by error. And then they just come out and they do a public apology, which is normal protocol for government.
I mean, yes, the government has, the U.S. government, and this is all documented. I'm not a conspiracy theorist because I don't necessarily, I just stated why I don't think conspiracies are necessary, because I think that, the powers that be will do what they need to do. And it's not a conspiracy, they're just doing it. But like the Tuskegee experiments.
Yep.
They were just doing horrible stuff to people. You know what I mean? Just to do it.
Yep.
And MK Ultra.
Right, MK Ultra, and it was just
Montauk.
And I don't think that these were done in the minds of the individuals that were deciding to sponsor these programs. We'll say, I don't think it came from a place of evil. This wasn't like I'm going to oppress these people. It was like, no, we're going to do this, and the human cost is worth it. Which I don't necessarily agree. But I can see where where their minds were. I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it came from a place of inherent evil.
Right. I think a lot of that came from a place of, especially when it all started, was keeping up with the Soviets at the time and trying to, we had all kinds of inflated ideas of what they were doing, and we were trying to match what they were doing. That's when you came up with things like mind control and MK Ultra. As far as Tuskegee, I don't know if they were just trying to see what syphilis would do to, was it syphilis, right?
Yeah, it was syphilis.
What it would do to a human being, and they used some unwitting, maybe undereducated people to find that out.
Yep.
Isn't
it funny how much the Soviet Union turned out to be a paper tiger?
Absolutely. I mean, growing up I'm not sure how old you are, Charlie, but when me and Troy grew up, it was a real fear.
Yeah.
And they used to tell us to hide under our desks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, in school.
Nuclear attack. And
that's gonna work. That's gonna work.
That's gonna do.
Well, that's a psychological thing. That's like, we'll make the kids feel okay. But no, I remember going into a pharmacy for Halloween. Remember when when pharmacies were the place to get your Halloween costume, and
Yep.
and you know, and there was like
Oh
Gorbachev,
yeah,
like Gorbachev masks.
yeah, with the little thing on the head.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
stain.
Yeah, and you could
It's
get
just
like a
right
Reagan
on the head.
mask or a Gorbachev mask. Like it was
Yeah.
Mad Mac. Every other Mad magazine was, you know, something to do with the Soviet Union. So yeah, I remember kind
It
of
was.
fondly. I mean, probably because I was a kid and it seemed simpler, but
Oh yeah.
you know.
Kind of miss
Speaking
being a kid
of,
sometimes. I wouldn't want to be a kid now.
I
It's
do.
that need for a demon, for an enemy, for somebody for us to fight against. You know,
yeah, nothing brings us together like a good enemy.
that's right.
But speaking
That's
of
so fucking true.
Speaking of the 80s and current events, and if this is too political, Troy, you can say, Charlie, shut up. I was watching
Do you, bro? Do
video.
you?
I was watching video of the Iranian missile volley the other night.
Oh
Dude,
yeah,
it looked like Missile Command. Like if
it
you put
really
it in,
did. That's funny.
like I was watching it and I had it like they had it like slowed down on the news so you could like see the volume. And I was just like, oh man, this is like level 5 stuff right
Yeah, it's
here,
quite a
man. Like
barrage.
this is like you lose your quarter on this round. Like this is intense.
Oh God.
But it
You
looked like
lose your
Missile
quarter.
Command. Yeah.
I love it,
Um,
Charlie.
Like it really looked like Missile Command, and it was like
It's terrible.
I don't know if you know the history of Missile Commands, but the guy that wrote the game basically, follow me here. Like this is the way my brain works.
Go ahead.
We were just talking about the Cold War. We were talking about the pervasive fear and the nuclear things, and so then my mind went to the thing that I just saw.
You fit
When
right in
Missile
on the show with that, man.
when Missile Command was being created, the guy that was like, I have an idea for a game, he was so obsessed. He lived out in California. He was working for Atari, and he was so obsessed and afraid of nuclear war with the Soviets that he had this vision of just like missiles raining down. And that's where the game came from. I read a book about the making of it, and it was full
That's
of
interesting.
firsthand interviews. And the original game, the prototype cabinets were meant to like mimic what he could see from publicly available information of like NASA control centers and missile control centers. And they had little lights up above the marquee that would like signal like your base has this many missiles left, your base has, and it was super complicated. So eventually they were like, we can't sustain this. Like arcades are not going to go replace 20 light bulbs in every cabinet when like for the different alerts. Like they're not going to do that, guy.
Let's just put a little bowling ball in there and
Right. So they simplified it. But the vision of it, the way I always envisioned it was like the missiles are coming top down. The creator's vision was that was the West Coast. And each of your little bases represented a city, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle. And that we were looking at it, like up to down. But in his brain, the way he wrote it was that was the West Coast. So if you shift it and all the missiles were coming over from Russia. So
Wow.
So anyway, sorry. There's my tangent.
No, I got a question because you got me thinking now. Here's how my brain works. You remember the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when they thought they were going to like do whatever, like bomb, what was the story and which, where they said that they were trying to fire it or getting ready to press the button and something came down and shut it down, like all the power went down and everything? You ever hear about that?
Yeah, Brittany can probably speak to this as well because she's all about the UFO.
Are we talking about Maelstrom? The Maelstrom base?
I'm asking you, like, where the guys were in there explaining, like, we already opened the switch we were going to get, and it just came down and everything shut down, like they just turned our entire.
Yeah,
something came down, used a
times.
frequency, some sort of a frequency, and turned off all of their shit so they couldn't press the button.
Yeah, Robert Salas.
Cool shit.
He's a friend. I met him and his wife. I know his wife very well. He was actually one of the gentlemen at the base when that happened. He actually witnessed it. It was a craft that came above and did 9 missiles no-go. Totally disarmed 9 of their missiles right in front of them. That literally turned them right off.
That's crazy.
Right in front of them. Yeah, it silenced all of them. They had to reprogram all of their missiles after that.
I
always thought all witnessed the craft.
I always thought
they don't know what it was.
I always thought that was like time traveler shit, man. Like they got to go back and fix that. We got to go fix that,
Like this is
before I would be like a Martian, but I mean, like I'd be like, yo, Jeff, we got to go back and fix that, dude, because they pressed that button is fucked.
Right.
And so
Or
we figure it
cooked.
out. I always like that twist too. But that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of the interest of UFOs and nuclear sites, and specifically nuclear weapons, is it's kind of a trope at this point. The amount of stories that there are about it. I think for me, like, I love that stuff. Like, I could talk about UFOs or UAPs. It's 2024. I need
No.
to see UAP.
No, you don't. It's UFOs. No, you don't. No, we fight this at
so-
congressional. It's UFO.
So like, I could talk about that all day long, but I love the story of I'm pretty sure it was a Russian that refused to push the button because the radar was going off, and they were like, you need to launch a counterattack. And he was like, I think I'm gonna wait. And like defied orders, and it just turned out to be trash. Like, just garbage
there
on
you
the
go.
screen. And like prevented nuclear war. Like, I think so long as there's people like that in the world,
Yeah.
reasonable people, we might have a hope.
Yeah, it seems there's less and less of those all the time.
There are, but there's still a
Reasons
few.
left us a lot of the way. You know,
I'm gonna toot our collective horn and say there's at least 4. I don't think we
try
have
to
our
be
fingers
reasonable.
on the buttons, but we're here.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think we should always. I think you should definitely take a second thought before you do something like that. I would think. I mean,
Yeah.
or maybe something.
Thank
maybe
God
they
for
did
that
that, or
guy.
maybe something interceded. And I just think that that's very. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think about those kind of things too, especially when and that brings me to that because even when we were out in really far out in way far out, and the sky was like super black, dude, and like you could see all the stars and
yeah.
shit. So many satellites were moving
I love
around.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, man, we're on top of the world out there, and there's no
Light
fucking
pollution
light.
kind of ruins all that.
It's so true, and there
Mhm.
was no light pollution. And you would just look up at the sky, and you could see the density of the Milky Way. And I mean, we were in the middle of goddamn nowhere, dude.
A
Nowhere.
lot of times.
And,
A lot of times.
and
There was one.
you realize how small you are.
There was one incident, and I'll share this with you guys. It's a behind the scenes thing, and it won't ruin
No,
anything
let's
for
do
the
it.
show. It was I was in Minnesota.
Sounds like North Carolina.
You hear the
Sounds like
sirens?
Charlie's about to get taken.
That's South Carolina or North
I
Carolina.
heard you talking about UFOs. They're on the way to get
That's
you.
it. There-
Goddamn Charlie.
Black helicopter.
Goddamn Charlie. He's too close.
I'm in the woods, but it's not that far away from the road. I can see my house.
He's like, it's too close. All right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody called the cops and was like, there's somebody in the woods with a bunch of flashlights on.
I think they're doing porn.
With trees. It's a new genre.
It might be a fetish. You don't know.
I don't know. Now I'm curious. Maybe
You just got to
there
make
are,
sure there's
like,
no bees in there first. That's all.
Just make
plant
sure
the fu-
you private search that. Don't search it on your normal engine or your
Yeah.
Google will be crazy.
What would that be? A plantophile?
Arborphile, plantophile.
A botanophile.
A
Because you'd be like
botanophile.
attracted to all plants.
Right.
Oh my God, everybody's gonna start getting all upset now. Like they're making fun of pedophilia and stuff.
Oh, that's not where I was going.
I
everyone
know, but
started
Brittany took
at
it there. Of all the people, Brittany, you took it there.
I
That's
didn't
me,
start it.
Jeff's
I just
job.
jumped
No, I
on
I'm
it.
sorry. I'm sorry, Charlie. Let Charlie go. We're digressing. Go ahead, Charlie.
All right, Charlie.
Where was I? Minnesota. I was in Minnesota, and it was kind of like Texas, where it was like a Mr. Toad's Wild Ride bit. I had to go look at some stuff. That's how I felt when I wasn't with the full group. I was like, woohoo, it's Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I'm off on an adventure.
I know. I kind of missed that actually.
Just don't end up in hell.
Mr. Toad was the shit.
So I was off,
Hard-worded
and production
adventure.
couldn't find me because I had wandered off to a field because we were done. And they're like, all right, we're done. We got to pack up. We got to get out of here. And I was like, okay. So I handed my mic to the sound guy and just wandered off because we were in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, I'm going to go sit down in this field and look at the sky. And it was so awesome. Like, just so awesome. Like, exactly what you were talking about. I loved being able to share the environments with you guys. But in that moment, I was completely alone. Nobody even knew where I was. I didn't realize they got bothered, but they did get bothered because they couldn't find me. But yeah, it was great. I was just sitting out there by myself in the field, like looking at the universe and just being like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It was pretty. There were multiple times where we would all be together. We're like, look up. Oh my God. Like, because we were out there away from light pollution. It's amazing when you step away from.
We're away from not just light pollution, we were from everything.
I know we really were. It
I mean,
really,
that
you know what
was-
though, Charlie? It's funny you said that they got annoyed with you. Do you know how many times Justin went after an animal and would get lost in the woods on us and come back and be like, for a second there, I thought I was just gonna live in the woods.
He's like, yo, I was taking a trail cam out, man. But I got lost. I'm like, what the fuck? How far'd you go? Man, I was putting shit up and I got lost.
Well, the thing about Justin's walkabouts is that the man knows his stuff. And the man knows his stuff, and the man has a passion for it. So I think it's justified. Like when Justin goes on when Justin goes on walkabout, you let him go. When Charlie goes on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, you need to kind of rope him in sometimes, because otherwise I'll just keep going.
Next time we'll put an air tag on you.
Right.
That way we can always find you.
Right.
He's over here.
Wind up
so
in
nuts.
Wind up in somebody's kitchen, like eating with them.
You know, some of my
you just be like, I'm gonna cook for you.
Right.
Some of my favorite times, man, were like after everything was wrapped up, and you know, we spent a week out in the wilderness or whatever, and we get back in, and we get to end up just chilling with everybody and talking. You know, Charlie would always come down with his little bit of whiskey or whatever, and he'd have a drink and talk, and everybody would start to talk. Like we didn't do whiskey, man. We were just fucking doing stuff, dude. That was fun, but you know, like sometimes you got to have like a good time, and it was really getting to know everybody. You know, I mean. And meeting all the people and you know, it's all walks of life, dude. And so we're all very different, but yet it really meshed well. I thought that it all got together. I know there was tension in sometimes, because you got to understand, folks, when we're out there, you know, there's bugs, it's loud, or you're in the middle of nowhere. There's fucking, you know, giant ass bears and all kinds of shit in the woods. I mean, or you know, you're on the edge of the world and you don't know, you know, and there's just, you know, there's tension, and then you get back, everybody kind of unwinds and talks. And that was kind of like the coolest thing, you know, pull all the ticks off of you.
Oh God.
I hope to God you don't die from that. And you know, there's some stuff I can't wait to really talk about what we were doing, because like we're talking about what we did, but when we run into the shows and they start airing as of October, it's going to be like so much fun, because we're going to be able to elaborate on a lot of stuff that's going to fill in the blanks that you may or may have not seen.
And there will be, do you remember when X, Y, or Z happened and it didn't make the cut, but like it'll be like because they only have so much time to air, right? Like, there's to your point.
Like you got to pick a lot of diamonds out of the rough, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Which one are you going to show everybody?
Be waiting for the outtakes.
Oh my gosh, I hope so, bro. And I think in the series, and I think there will be that stuff. And what it is it's not really outtakes, because I know Jeff knows this, but to the audience watching, it's not really like an outtake where we're like trying to say a line. It's where we're not supposed to be doing something, and we have a microphone on a camera, and it's called a pod buster. And they were editing a lot of that stuff. Now, there were some really good pranks that were pulled on me that probably aren't going to make the cut. There were some things that Justin did. Justin, he likes gas, and so he likes to make big noises when you're trying to talk or film.
We're not talking about gasoline at this point, then.
No, we're not. We're talking about Justin's.
All of us.
His whistling cheeks, like just point at you while you're talking. And I remember Charlie trying to say something, and every time he would talk, he'd point and just like blast off on him. And Charlie's like, okay, so we're going to, and he would do it again. And I'm like, and they're like, oh my God, this is going to be a pod buster, because that's just, you know, it's tension, you know, and we're just trying to just be funny and loosen up a little, because, you know, you're fucking stuck in a tent and everybody's like just agitated. And then you got, you know, then you got to go wake somebody up. Oh, go to Charlie's tent, wake him up. Guys, just lay down. And then what's Brittany doing? Justin, you didn't even take your fucking, you're still sleeping all like that. What are you doing? You know, and just, you get weird, you know?
Yep.
Justin is actually at an event tonight, Tara, to answer your question. I'm sorry. He had an event tonight in South Florida. So he's got some big alligators and some animals and doing his thing, from what I understand. Go ahead, Charlie.
Doing Justin stuff.
Yeah, he's Justin-ing it up. Justin Ditch.
There's one trip that it'll definitely be an episode. But to your point, Troy, I think even in those moments of tension, sometimes there's hilarity. I specifically remember an exchange between you and I in an environment where I was trying to justify something, and then you said something back to me. You had a really quick retort where you basically took what I said, tacked some obscenities onto
I
it,
was probably high.
and and it broke me, and I just couldn't stop laughing, and it was like the funniest thing I had heard all day, and it just like that humor that breaks the tension. But then there was also the time that I went full dad mode on you, Justin and Brittany, because
Oh, yeah.
you were all picking at each other, and I was
Right.
like,
Oh, God damn it.
you all
I
need to
was
go to
like,
your rooms.
dang, Charlie, get in your room. It's what he was like down yelling at the kids. Like he's about to throw the dinner. Get out of here.
Literally what happens when we all live under one roof for long periods of time. Charlie literally owned the dad mode that night. Listen, you're all valid.
Well, hold on.
All valid.
You're
Here's
all
something for you.
valid, and I don't want to hear about it anymore, and you all need to go to your rooms.
Yeah, but the best part is,
over.
Jeff, this is the best part you like, man. Like, y'all get done. We get done late. We're working, but up in the morning, man. Fuck goddamn Betty Crocker's out there making breakfast, dude. Oh,
right.
I've made French gourmet muffins, and we also have, these eggs are this is a Vietnamese dish with the eggs. And then we have this over here, and I'm like, dang, man, we got like this. Oh, he's like, those are just eggs, but they're special. And it's like, man, every day Charlie was cooking, making chalupa cabras and all kinds of good shit.
Services too.
He craft service us. He made everything. Service. He cooked, bro. He cooked all the foods for us.
Unless we were camping. But even then, I think Charlie literally would have tried to make it work.
Yeah, but when we got a cabin, he cooked.
Yeah,
oh, hell yeah, he did.
I was not going to lug my camp stove and gear. Like, it's not that kind of show. But yeah, when there's a cabin, it's cooking time because nutrition is very important.
And he's always like, Brittany, just so you know, I made sure I didn't season any of that, so it's just salt and pepper, so there's no garlic, you won't get sick. Yeah. And then when he's like making dessert, he's like, I'll make sure there's no chocolate, and you don't have any other allergies, right? Like, I was just like, what is this? Wolfgang Puck? What's up, man? Yeah, okay.
I like to cook.
Wolfgang Charlie.
That's right. That's what it is. Charlie, cooking with cryptids.
Yeah. I like to cook.
He does, and he likes to bake, and he made some of these cool things called chalupa cabras or whatever.
Chalupa cobblers.
Chalupa cobbler, and it had like cherries in it and shit. And I don't eat sweets, but I had to taste it. And I'll tell you what, man, that would make me an addict, dude. Like that.
I'm gonna make it into a reel.
Like, that's fucked up. How good that was. I'm not lying. I'm
for
not
like
making that
a
up.
solid.
Good shit.
What is it? 1 minute 30 seconds is all I think a reel I can make on Instagram. But I'm gonna make a reel with all the really good little clips from him baking that and airing it and tagging everybody. Because honestly, it was badass. He did a great job, and I think people need to see that he made a chalupa cobbler, cherry filled. It was great. It's like the next best pastry.
And because our first episode is going to take place in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be coming out October 9th, and that's what we're researching, guys. And you're going to have to find out what we found out. Very, very interesting stuff, and I wish I could tell everybody, but I can't.
No,
but we will. We'll be telling you October 9th what we did and what we found and how exciting it was. But, man, there were some interesting things, and I will tell you that we live in a very different world than you think. And you realize how small you are sometimes, and, your day-to-day and what you do, and you're wrapped up. And if you were like to put a GPS on about what you do in your day-to-day life, you don't go fucking far, man. Like, oh, my gosh, where's Troy? I think he took the long trip to Publix. It's probably, I think it's under a mile away. Probably it's going to be a long time, but but then if I was to set a GPS to look at where we and Charlie and Brittany and Justin were just at and Tracy, and we were flying everywhere. I mean, and let me tell you something, man, we were on some fucking airplanes, like a shit ton of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't believe how far we went, man. Some of them flights were fucking like 6.5 hours, man.
Dude, it took me 26 hours to get home from one of the trips.
I remember
that.
It was horrible. I mean,
didn't you have to turn around though? Didn't you turn around? You went somewhere else as soon as you got back too, didn't you? On that one? I think it was like a quick turnaround. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro. Let me tell you something, man. I don't even remember if Brittany was on this plane, but let's get into the plane for a minute here.
Yeah, let's talk
when you're on that many fucking planes, There's always something going to be fucking happening, dude. It's not like, oh, I'm taking a flight and we're going to fly out and visit grandma. No, fuck that. They're like, oh, you're going to catch this to here. Not to mention that they just destroyed our luggage, like ripped the wheels off, blown out, socks hanging out of your bag. Like, don't give a fuck, Air Alaska, you piece of shit. But at the end of the day, I remember we were coming back in and we were with one of the film groups that was with us, the film crew. Great guys. All of them are great guys. If you're out there, we love you. You're awesome. They film for the Deadliest Catch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they spend time on them ships. And we were on an airplane, dude. And we were going into a storm. And I can't remember if it was Seattle. But we were fucking like, it was like we're dying. And I'm looking up at John, the camera guy. Like, okay, we're all in the same row.
Flight.
You were on the front of the plane, I think. I look at John. We got the whole crew. It's me and Justin.
I was behind you, and then I moved in front. Yeah.
Yeah. It was me and Justin, and I forget who was next to us. And then we had all of our DP guys in the head and all that stuff. And John was one of my favorite dudes. I miss him.
Because Scott was next to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking up at him, but bro, I'm looking up at him like this. And then all of a sudden, he's looking up at me like that. And then when we landed, I mean, I'm like, dude, I hope this wing does not touch the ground while we're trying to land. You know, because we're coming in. It's like, and we're like, you know, I'm like, oh, this is great. He's like, Pirates of the Caribbean, you know? I mean, and when we got down, he goes, I'm not, he was real cool. He's like, I'm not sure if the Deadliest Catch boat or that was, I don't think you could really tell the difference. It was lightning, raining really hard, and water was splashing off, and the plane was just going. And that was a terrible time. But the worst of it all is we're coming back to Tampa. Me and Justin thought we're all cool. We got the exit line, you know, because Justin's a big dude too, and he's like really tall, and he's like, oh, sit. So we're like kicked back, and we're flying along, right? And it starts bumping. It's doing this a little bit, and I'm like, oh god, here we go. So I'm holding the drink up. All of a sudden, dude, this son of a bitch said, boom, like the biggest sound you ever heard. And I remember looking over at Justin, and he was sitting, and his laptop was above his head like this.
Oh my God.
And then it threw us forward, and it shot all the way down the line. Dude, I watched this whole laptop go and the guy's holding the chair next to me like this. He's like so tight, like you can see his fingernails. He's like this, and then it'll do it again. It just drops us, woo, and your arms up in the air, boom, and then the stupid ass luggage thing's open, and you're like, we're dead, we're dying right now. This is why I don't want to fly. Fuck this world. And if it was that bad, I'm jumping out. I'm not gonna fuck. I'm jumping out. But it was like that, and then you're like, oh, do we have to do it again? And then you start. It's like a tease. You got a good flight right before you land. It's like whoop whoop, and you're like, oh, is it gonna be one of those? It's like that stupid little tease they give you. Fucking bullshit.
I didn't have any of that.
I hate you for that, Charlie. Hate you.
So many missed connections. At one point, I was texting Brittany pictures of her plane as we were parked next to each other. Where I was supposed to connect and get on here. So I'm like, I don't know, but I'm not making it because they're not letting us off. And,
I even tried telling the stewardess, I'm like, do you see that plane? The person that's on that plane has to be on this one, and he needs to get off that and get on here. Can you like hold the door? And they're like, I don't know. We have like 10 minutes. I'm like, Charlie, you've got 10 minutes. And he's like, can you see me waving? Like, no, I can't see you waving. Like, we're literally like side by side at matching gates. It was awful.
Yeah, you know, I'm telling you, we flew enough, man, that you could tell when the pilot was a seasoned good pilot and when you had a young pilot. Me and Justin got on his last plane on the way home from when we just came back from where we were last week or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we get turbulence and Justin starts laughing. And I'm like, man, come on now. I'm a little stressed out. But we got on the plane. We walked by and there's this guy. This bitch looks like he's 21 years old. He's got his little pilot's wing. He's like, good afternoon, folks. Like, we could have put him in our pocket. That flight sucked. He would get on the flight and be like, all right, guys, we're going to be landing with the departure at 8:30 p.m. And then, like, this is how the guy slows down. So we're coming back to Tampa. And instead of like that gradual, all right, guys, about a half hour in, it's like, he just like puts the brakes on. Woo! And it's that stupid moment of weightlessness, you know, like where you can feel it in your body. You're like hovering, like, oh. And then it pushes pressure and then it slows down. I'm like, man, he was coming in hot. And when we hit the runway, we hit so damn hard, I thought the fucking engine was going to fall off. I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, is he 12 years old? The fuck?
So
you know they're young because they will not talk to you after they try to almost feel like the plane's going to crash. Older pilots be like, guys, it's just a little bit of turbulence. And they do it real cool, like they're on a late night jazz station. Right. All right, guys, we're just going to go ahead and put those seatbelts on. It's a little bit of turbulence ahead. Nothing to worry about. Just going to shake you up a little bit. So you might want to put your tables up and hold your drinks, folks, and we'll get you through it as soon as we can. This other young guy, oh, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, we're landing. I'm like, oh my fucking God, are we?
So you have beef with Alaskan Airlines.
Yes.
I'll be right back, guys. I got to handle the animal.
Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
American Airlines called the TSA on me.
Oh God, what'd you do?
I didn't even raise my voice. I was
That's
just
a
very
lot.
firm with a lot of facts.
Yeah,
I
they get
check
weird
Charlie.
though, dude. Yeah, but they look for excuses, Charlie, to fuck with you.
Yeah,
So
of
I
course.
had missed like 3 connectors in 2 weeks. Like it was so bad. Like I'm a very sleepy guy. Like I like my sleep. I need my sleep. It just is what it is. And when you miss connections and you wind up losing sleep, it impacts your ability to work to the best of your ability. So I was not in the mood to miss another connection. And
I can't blame you.
they messed it up, and I sprinted through Atlanta, through a couple terminals in Atlanta, and I got there, and it was 16 minutes, and they're supposed to close the door at 15 minutes, but
Yeah.
the American Airlines lady had already started giving away tickets to standby,
Oh shit.
and we already had people on the plane, like that we were traveling with, that like came in differently and had already gotten on there. And I get up there and I'm like, hi, I'm here. She's like, I already gave your seat away. And I was like, ma'am, that door is not closed. You are still boarding, and it is not my problem that you have given my seat away. You need to upgrade
Good
me.
for you, man.
And she was like, TSA to gate A5. I was like, you can go ahead and call them, and I'm going to call the local newspaper that American Airlines made me miss 3 connections in the last 2 weeks, and then
Because
call
they
the
suck.
cop. I was like, and then they called the cops on me because they didn't want to admit they messed up.
All right, let me tell you something. Are you ready for this,
Mhm.
Charlie? Are you ready for this?
What's
You
up?
said you have a problem with American. I have a problem with fucking Alaska.
Mhm.
Well, American owns Alaska, or Alaska owns American. So there's your
There
fucking
you-
problem right there.
What did I tell
I
you
fly
about?
Delta. If you're
Yeah.
listening, Delta, thank you for treating us very good. You just need a
I
little
can't
bit of
stand
older pilots.
American. I never fly American anymore. They're terrible.
I won't either. I've had
United and
more-
Delta.
That was the worst flight I've ever had. I use United and Delta, always have. And you know what? I know that the Delta flights were a little rocky sometimes, but that's just weather. But the way they treat us is different, because when we were coming home, me and Justin, or when we were leaving, I almost didn't make the flight out. Charlie, remember I said we almost didn't make
Oh
it?
yeah. Yeah.
I was running. I forgot all my credentials. I had to run back. I just got back in. And then Justin, this fucking guy, still has that stupid dick rock in his bag. So they shut us down because it looks like a fucking whatever. And he's like, oh, well, we got to look at this. And the lady's like, you go. She sends me to the gate. I go to the gate, and he's like, Justin's birthday's wrong. You have to reprint. So they cut me out of line, shoot me down with the shit, run me to the gate. And I give him that. I get the new ticket printed. I come back. We get Justin. He's got Dick Rock. Now the guy's looking at Dick Rock. I'm like, oh, my God, dude. So then we get moving. We finally get there, and the gate's closed. And I'm like, fuck. I was so pissed. I'm like, we missed it. So I start calling everybody. I'm like, yeah, I don't think we're going to make it, whatever. And then this lady comes up and she goes, oh, we have to put some luggage back on the plane, so we have to open the door. And she goes, and by the way, she's telling the people, well, I have 2 more people here that need to be on this plane. Can we at least accommodate them? And bro, they reopened the door and put us on. I was so fucking. That's Delta.
That's what
Had that been American, they would have fucking arrested us, took our shit.
The American lady
Yep.
did back down because I just didn't move. I just stood there staring at all the standby people.
You're like, let them come. Let those TSA.
Right.
And I wasn't mean. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't yell.
Yeah, I would have been all weird, like, you know what? There's a reason I'm not supposed to be on this plane. And you're all going to crash and die. So I'm just going to go back to the cafe and catch the next one. Thank you, universe. Now, Charlie, he's like, fuck you, universe. I'm getting on this plane.
She kept staring at me, and I just kept staring at her, and I guess this looks like the kind of guy that will call the local.
I love it. I
And,
absolutely love
so
it.
I got an upgrade.
I love
Hey,
Nice.
it's on them though. That was their
Like
fault.
they'd rather send
So
it with
good
an
for you,
empty
Charlie.
seat than let you on the plane.
Right.
That,
Ridiculous.
you know what's really funny? I think it was this last flight. I was sitting in the exit row, and you know how they always ask people like, "Oh, you're in the exit row. Are you willing to assist in case of emergency before yourself or anyone else?" Blah blah blah. So there's this woman and her husband, and they're sitting like right next to the door. And the stewardess asked them, and the wife looks at her husband and she goes, "Do we have to say yes?" And he goes, if we're going to sit here, yes, we have to say yes. And so the stewardess goes, I need to know. Like she's the flight attendant's like, I need to know.
Or
Like,
maybe.
are you
What
going to
an
do it?
idiot. Who fucking does that?
So, hold on. So then they're having a private conversation. And she goes, I need a yes or no. We have to close the door of the plane. She's like, yes or no, yes or no. And the lady goes, maybe. And the husband goes, I guess we'll assist. And she goes, no, I need a yes or a no. You can't just sit here on a maybe. This is what the stewardess is saying. For a good, like probably 10 to 12 minutes, the stewardess is having an argument with this husband and wife that they cannot stay in these seats if they are not willing to help and aid other
They
people.
just say yes.
So then
You
the
know,
wife
nobody
goes,
chances.
well,
I know,
then
'cause people are
no.
stupid, Jeff.
So
That's
then the
why
wife
they're
literally
stupid.
goes, no, I'm not going to help anybody. And the husband goes, yeah. And so she goes, then you're going to move. So then she like puts her hand up. She goes, I need 2 volunteers willing to sit in the exit row, willing to assist and aid in case of an actual emergency.
I'll be right there.
It took us another 10 minutes because everybody was like, no. And I turned to the lady sitting next to me and said, when have you ever been on a plane where nobody was willing to assist in an exit row? She goes,
I've
no.
never been on one.
Literally everyone on the right side of the plane were like hell bent on no, we're not assisting. And I was like, well, guess what? If I'm on this side of the exit row, bitch, you come to my door. I ain't letting you out. You had a maybe for me.
Here's why I always say yes. You want to know why I always say yes?
Couldn't believe
You
it.
don't have to move. That's for one.
Because I'll tell you why I say yes. Because the airline lies to you. They're like, welcome. In the rare event that we crash land, you'll be assisting. Motherfucker, you be goddamn dust or underwater. You're dead anyways. There's no assistance shit. They're like, you're going to assist what? What are you assisting? Shit.
I'll
Because
take
you're
the
dead.
extra leg room. Thank you.
Right
Yeah,
in a
because
water.
if I have to die, I want to die stretched out, motherfucker.
I
just couldn't believe it.
I know we're about at time, but one
We
more,
are. Shoot. Let's have one more, Charlie. Let's go.
one more funny airplane story. I guess it's not that funny. It's kind of sad. So
Might be funny. Sad is funny.
we were on one of those, and I was just like, beat to shit. It was like one of our rougher shoots, and there was a first class seat open, and it like wasn't crazy expensive, and like I had enough points to cover it, so I didn't have to pay for it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get the big seat. Oh hell yeah, I'm gonna get the fancy snacks because they get different snacks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They do. And drinks.
They used to give you nuts in like a little bowl instead of in a bag.
I fell asleep before the door even closed. In that
You missed the
chair.
snack?
I missed all the snacks. I didn't get a fancy drink. I didn't get a fancy snack. I didn't get a hot towel. I didn't get anything. I woke up when we landed.
You mentioned the
Got
hot
a good
towel,
sleep. That's a bonus
Charlie.
right there.
I didn't get anything.
You know why?
You
It's
should've
because
taken
those
them to
seats
go.
were real comfy.
Yeah, I mean, it's because the seat was big and nobody was like, "Oh." For anybody that's watching this that is a fan of Justin's antics, he posted a hilarious picture.
Oh,
on
the guy
Bike
sleeping
Force
on the
Instagram.
shoulder.
The guy sleeping.
Oh
on
my
it.
God, that was
So-
so fucking funny, didn't it? I was like, dude.
Yeah.
And then you don't understand. There was this couple. I don't know where they were from because you couldn't see the girl. She was all wrapped up and shit, just her eyes were showing. But they had their baby crawling around. And when we landed, this is the only plane I've ever been on. It's when we landed in, up there in the New York area. Wonderful place. Not. But we were flying up. Everybody gets up and takes a line. When have you ever been on an airplane where people don't get up seat by seat and let people out and move? The people in front go, the people in front go, right? They just all crowd you. So this guy's asleep with his mouth open, and there's like this whole family that's probably not used to American travel or whatever comes up, and they're holding their baby. And that same guy that was sleeping on Justin, the baby reaches down and fucking just takes a handful of his hair and tries to yank him up out of the chair and laugh about it, dude. Like fucking legit grabs his hair and fucking yanks it and shit. Nobody was supposed to be standing up, but they just stood up. We're still moving, and they're all getting up to get off the plane. And there were old people
That's
like,
unreal.
have you never flown before? I mean, they were getting mad and shit. I love it when old people get real pissed off because I'm like, I can't wait till I'm old because I'm going to fucking be a motherfucker, dude. Like that.
You already say whatever.
You touch my
want.
toe.
What are you talking about? I have been out with you. You say whatever comes to your mind.
That's true.
He does.
But I get to be I get to get away with it when I'm old, though.
Yeah, okay.
It is
All
true.
right, that's fair.
It is more
That's fair.
forgiving.
People will accept it. Yeah.
They're like, he's
like those
older.
old people that-
He's been
He's
through
having a
stuff in
senior
his
moment.
time. He's allowed to talk like that.
Like those old guys in front of me and Justin. When we get him on the show next week, we'll talk about it dropping gas bombs on us inside the plane and shit, stinking it up. And every time he's like, every time. And I mean, it was bad. Like you could chew on him, dude. Like, I mean, it was thick, man. You had to take a drink and it was in the ice.
Worse than the Nate Croc star.
Yeah,
that,
like I wanted
that
to throw it,
happened
man.
on a
I'm like,
flight
come
where-
on now, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why can't I have
That
a bunch of gas? I'd fucking be shooting that all over everybody. Here you go, fuckers. But I never get
Troy
it.
knows.
It's not fair. It never happens to me, dude. When I want to do it.
You know, Troy, because I had that person farting right next to me, and I was trying to figure out where that stench was coming from, and they literally were like farting and wafting it in their blanket next to me. And
You
that's
mean
when I
when
had
we
to
were in the
move next to
plane?
Scott. Yes. Don't you
It was
remember?
bad,
like I
Charlie.
was dry heaving.
You could smell it on the
I
whole
was like,
plane,
I
and
can't do this.
Brittany actually moved.
I did. I was like, "Is that a free seat up there by Scott?" Because he had nobody sitting next to him. I'm like, I'm sitting up there, and Justin's like, "Why did you move?" I'm like, "Cause the person next to me."
It's just the only problem was it
farting
made it look
and
like it was Brittany because
walking.
she got up and walked away from that seat, and she
It
took it all the way up to
shit.
Scott. They thought it was Brittany. They're like,
Who
oh,
cares?
Brittany's that'd be like flying with Dan Asukis, man.
It was bad.
You want to
It
talk
was
about
bad.
a farty guy? Dan Asukis right there. He's a farty guy. That'd be flying with him. I'm never flying with him. But anyways, we're at the top of the hour. Actually, we're 5 minutes in, 6 minutes already to the Motley Croc Show. And thank you for everybody coming out and checking us out. And remember that you can check this out on YouTube. You can go to the Motley Croc Show and you can find us. And we are airing. It's going to be myself and Justin, Charlie, Tracy, Brittany. We're all going to air on the new show. It's going to be called The Lost Monster Files. It's on Discovery Channel, 10 Central, Wednesday night, October 9th. Please tune in. Have a good time. That's what we've been working on for months, and we really want people to check it out and really have some fun. And then we'll talk a little bit with you. I'm sure you'll have questions, and then we'll be able to answer questions, and we'll be able to touch on some things after each episode. And then hopefully you love it because we have some stuff to show you. Like Hellraiser, we have such sights to show you.
Thanks for having me.
Man, you're always welcome, Charlie. And guys, check out Charlie's show, RK Carolinas. In my story, you can click on that, and that'll take you right to his page, which will take you right to his links. Check out his stuff. He really does a lot of stuff that you like too, Jeff. His podcasts are really good, and he really digs into some cool shit. And him and his buddy, they do a great job. They do. It's a funny show. I watched your live one when you were up on the stage, Charlie, and I got a kick out of it, man. Me and Flavio, I told you about that. It was funny. So they're a lot of fun. Check us out. We do that stuff. We'll come back on the Motley Croc Show. We'll probably be doing a lot more. So we look forward to seeing everybody. And thank you again for coming on to the Motley Croc Show and supporting us. Charlie, thanks for being here. Everybody hang tight. We're going to go ahead and cut off. And